Alright, hey everyone. Today I'm updating my DCEU ranking for what might be the last time, since Blue Beetle is the start of James Gunn's new DC universe, and I have no idea what the hell Aquaman 2 is going to be. So, this might be the last time. As always, spoiler alert. Starting off, my number 13 is Suicide Squad. Okay, starting off with the good stuff, because there is some good stuff. Jai Courtney is really good. He's easily the best part of this movie, at least in part because he's actually allowed to use his native accent. Captain Boomerang is the only squad member who doesn't have, like, this underdeveloped and compressed backstory. He's just an alcoholic douchebag, and Jai Courtney plays that to perfection.
Mind games.
What's that?
All this bomb in the neck crap. That ain't real, mate. See, they're trying to trap us with our own minds, right? But you look around, we're free, Brad.
How do you know this?
Just trust me, I know, right? It's a con. Now I'm gone, because I got a life to live. Question is, are you coming? Yeah, smart.
Margot Robbie is also solid as Harley Quinn. I'm not a big fan of her outfit, but she plays the character very well. Viola Davis and Jay Hernandez are also good. Some of the comedy does legitimately work. Not a lot, but there are a few good bits. Probably the best part of the whole movie is this shot of June Moon turning into Enchantress.
Enchantress.
That shit is awesome. I love Will Smith, and he gives a solid performance, but I just don't buy him as a bad guy. An alcoholic superhero, maybe, but not a villain. The action scenes are a mixed bag. They're well shot, but the editing is kind of crap. And honestly, that's true of this movie overall. The editing is just bad, which is probably because they let a fucking trailer house edit the movie. The pacing is atrocious. I shit you not. The movie has 2 first acts. And there's just so much shit that makes no sense. This is a universe where Wonder Woman and Superman exist. This is a movie where the Batman and the Flash have cameos. And yet when Enchantress has the power to steal the world, they send in the Suicide Squad. The Squad is who you send after the Joker, not some world-ending General Zod-level threat. Also, aside from Boomerang, like, all the other Squad members have backstories that are just compressed and forcibly crammed in, and they all just feel generic and poorly thought out, and the villains suck. One more nice thing I can say about this movie is that this is the only time in the DCEU where the Flash actually interacts with a Flash villain. So, you know, that was kind of cool. My score is 2.5 out of 5. Number 12 is Wonder Woman 1984. This movie is shamelessly bonkers, infectiously joyful, and painfully relevant in this day and age. It's also a mess. Gal Gadot is delightful, Chris Pine is great as usual, the pacing is good, the action is thrilling, the Hans Zimmer's musical score is very good. Where this movie improves on the original is with the villains in the third act. Cheetah is better than the villains from the first movie. She's still not great, but she's better. Kristen Wiig proves that her dramatic acting rivals her comedy. I just wish that she had been more fleshed out, but you know, she's fine. And Maxwell Lord is also a very sympathetic villain. He's not evil, he's just easily manipulated. My only complaint there is that they save a lot of the sympathetic stuff until, like, the climax, and they don't give you much of it before then. And the third act actually feels like a natural continuation of the story, rather than an arbitrary CGI fight shoehorned into the last minute by the studio interference. It's not the best, but it works. On the other hand, this movie suffers from a double case of broken Aesop, which means it contradicts a moral or message it's trying to convey. Maxwell Lord seems to be an indictment of 80s consumerism and capitalism as a whole. However, the rest of the movie goes out of its way to glorify 80s fashion trends, ritzy apartments, office spaces, fancy cars, and shopping malls, i.e. representations of those very things. Also, for all Diana's talk about how she has given so much up for the world, and she only wants one thing, Steve, in return, she has an enormous condo tastefully decorated with a gorgeous view overlooking the Potomac, i.e. the exact sort of space that someone like Maxwell Lord might covet. Diana might not covet more the way Lord does, but she still indulges to a hefty degree. Also, the moral of never take shortcuts that Diana learned from Antiope rings kind of hollow when you remember that Diana is a princess and a demigod who was able to enter the toughest athletic tournament on Themyscira when she was a child and almost outcompeted her older, more seasoned opponents thanks to her royal status and supernatural abilities. My score is 3 out of 5. Number 11 is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. As always, I'm going off the Ultimate Edition because the theatrical cut is hot garbage. I know not everyone loves the dark, serious tone in Zack Snyder's DC movies, but at least his movies actually have a consistent tone. Looking at you, Justice League. Oh, for the record, Justice League will not be included as usual, but if I was including it, it would be above Suicide Squad and below Wonder Woman. Because yes, even Justice League is better than Suicide Squad. The casting in this movie is on point. Batfleck is badass, Gal Gadot is delightful, Henry Cavill is awesome. Jeremy Irons, Lawrence Fishburne, Amy Adams, and Holly Hunter are also very good. The action in this movie is the usual level of great I've come to expect from Zack Snyder. Say what you will about the man. 1, he's good people, and 2, he is great at creating kick-ass action scenes. The warehouse fight is legitimately one of the best fight scenes in any superhero movie. You know what else Snyder is good at? Cool visuals. Just like Watchmen, 300, Man of Steel, this movie has several moments, shots, and frames that just feel like they were ripped straight out of a comic book. I love it. I love Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL's music. The main characters and villains all have their own distinct musical themes, and the tense music building up to the warehouse fight and then during the warehouse fight is just outstanding. I also really dig this movie's Batmobile. It's not the best, it's not my favorite, but it's unique and it still looks and feels like a Bat vehicle. Doomsday is meh. I don't really have any strong feelings about him either way. And honestly, I think Lex Luthor is pretty underrated here. He's not great, but he's good. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 10 is Black Adam. There are fun kid characters, and there are annoying kid characters. This movie's kid character is like right on the line. Like halfway in between. He's got one foot in each hole. This movie is no masterpiece, but it's a hell of a fun popcorn flick. I don't know if The Rock was the best choice to play the titular role, but he is very good in the role. However, it is Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate who absolutely steals the show. Bring him back. He was so good. Most of the VFX are solid. Most, not all. The action is awesome, the music is very well done, the humor mostly works, and I do love the running bit with Adam trying to figure out his catchphrase. And honestly, I like the one he settled on. Tell them the man in black sent you. The Justice Society are all fun characters with depth and at least some development. Hawkman gets the most development, and Aldous Hodge's performance is great. Noah Centineo is probably the weakest link in terms of acting, but that's not an insult to him because he's still very funny and natural. However, out of the three, my personal favorite is Quintessa Swindell as Cyclone. She is funny and quirky and a total badass, and the visuals used to bring her powers to life are gorgeous.
Copy that.
We're on it.
Heads up!
My biggest problem with this movie is that although it does a good job of borrowing various elements from other superhero films and blending them together into something new, it kind of forgets to forge its own identity in the process. Which is something I struggle with in the stuff I write, because that is my creative process. I'll get ideas from everywhere, but I always try to add something new so it's not just a blend of other ideas. Anyway, my score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 9 is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. This movie makes a few small improvements on the first movie, but overall it's a big step down. We get more time with Billy's family, the new villains are pretty good, and the humor is still mostly on point. The problem is that Warner Bros. Still hasn't learned their lesson from Batman v Superman and Justice League, because studio interference cut out a bunch of character stuff. And so it leaves a lot of things feeling like they come out of nowhere. Like, the bridge scene is fine, but, like, there's nothing really special about the bridge scene. It's just a superhero scene set on a bridge. We've seen it, like, half a dozen times before. I do like that out of our 3 villains, we get, like, the 3 different flavors. So we have the one who is just evil, we have the one who is the token good teammate, and then we have the one who is in that gray area. I like that. I like that mix, and I like their interactions with each other.
Stop! This is from the champions. Dear daughters of Atlas, violence is not the answer. Oh, good first sentence. Thanks, Darla. We'd like to make a trade. We'll give up our powers if you give us Freddy. Add unharmed. Otherwise, they're gonna monkey's paw you. Smart, Eugene. Steve, add unharmed. Then, like yours true, no, sincerely, best, maybe just signed the champions. Should we proofread it? Nah, Steve doesn't make mistakes, just writes what you say. Great, I feel good about this. Me too.
I kind of wish they had done more to create a parallel between them and the Batsons, the Shazam family. I wish they do some to create a parallel, but I wish they had done more. I hope we get some kind of director's cut in the near future that restores some deleted scenes with, like, more character development, because I liked what we got, but it wasn't much, and I wanted more. Although I will say, I do love the blend of all the monsters we get running around, and I love the whole bit with Darla and the unicorns. Like, it doesn't fully make sense, but it's just so adorable that I honestly don't care. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 8 is The Flash. I am not going to comment on the controversy surrounding Ezra Miller. I don't know if the allegations against them are true. I have seen some evidence to suggest that they are true, and some evidence to suggest that they are false. So I'm just going to leave that out of this, and I'm just going to talk about the movie. It's perfectly fine. It's got a lot of really cool stuff, but not all of it feels like it was fully baked. I like the core concept. It's something that's been done before, but they take it in a new direction, and I'm fine with that. I know Ezra Miller's Flash has been fairly divisive among the fandom. I think they do a really good job. I don't think they were the best choice, but I do think they're very, very good. I love the interactions between the 2 different versions of Barry. I love when Barry number 1 loses his powers, and he's trying to get up to speed, and he's just running in a circle in the room. The way he runs is based on how real, like how real athletes run when they're trying to go fast. Like, they did their research and they showed their work in that regard. However, when you're not running at, like, superhuman speeds, it looks ridiculous. And that got one of the biggest laughs out of me. Out of all the good, there's a lot of good humor in this movie, but that got one of the biggest laughs out of me. I love Sasha Calle as Supergirl, and I love that we got Michael Keaton back as Batman. They were both great.
What's the play? Batman, what do we do? What now?
Now, we try not to die.
I just wish that there had been more of them, because ultimately, it just feels like that more could have been done with them. For those of you who have yet to see The Flash, this is where spoilers are coming in. I love the realism of Supergirl. No matter what she does, she's not a match for Zod. But it makes sense, because when Superman fought Zod, he had been free his entire life. He'd been living among the people with no restrictions. He was never imprisoned or anything like that. His body has been absorbing the sun's radiation, which has made him stronger, and he's been doing that his entire life. With Supergirl, if she's been in captivity for I don't remember how long, she's only been out for a few days. She's only had a few days to absorb the sun's radiation and get stronger, so she's not nearly at the same power level that Clark was at when he fought Zod. So no matter what she does, she can't win, because she hasn't reached that level of power. I like that realism. It's like something that I always strive for. When you're writing a story that takes place in some kind of fantasy world or superhero world or whatever, you gotta try to have at least some realism in there. Okay, so the visual effects in this movie are a very big mixed bag. Some of them are genuinely great. Others, not so much. The babies at the beginning. Holy uncanny valley, Batman. So, more spoilers. Nick Cage. Why was Nick Cage CGI? I understand Christopher Reeves and who the hell played Supergirl in that terrible movie. I understand those two being CGI, but why was Nick Cage CGI? I'm guessing it was just for consistency, so that one of them didn't look very super different from the other. But like, I don't even blame the special effects artists, because it is not their fault. They did their best with the money and the time that they had. However, one detail I do love that I didn't know until I read about it, but so for those of you who don't know, years ago, Nicolas Cage was going to play Superman in a movie called Superman Lives, which would have been directed by Tim Burton. First of all, how cool would that have been? Not just a Tim Burton directed Superman movie, but Nick Cage in a Tim Burton movie. That would have been so cool. But one detail I love is that apparently, when that movie was still a thing, one thing that I think the studio mandated was that the climax had to involve Superman fighting a giant spider. So, when we see Nick Cage Superman in this movie, what's he doing? He's fighting a giant spider. I see what you did there, and I appreciate it. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Next up, number 7 is Man of Steel. Look, say what you will about Zack Snyder, he did something that at least one other, arguably better director failed to do. He successfully launched the DCEU. Yeah, Green Lantern was supposed to do that 2 years earlier, and that was directed by Martin Campbell, the guy who gave us GoldenEye and Casino Royale. No, the good one. Henry Cavill is great. I know some people complain about his portrayal because Superman has always valued life and avoided killing whenever possible, and I get that, but this doesn't go against that. This is a Superman who hasn't yet reached that point in his life. And when he does, he gets there the hard way. He learned the value of life because he was forced to take a life in order to save others. It's such a powerful moment.
If you love these people so much, you can mourn for them. Don't do this! Stop! Never.
And yeah, well, people are arguing, oh, he had a choice, he had so many options. No, he didn't. He genuinely didn't. He begged Zod to stop. And what did Zod say? Never. As long as Zod was alive, he was going to be a threat. And it's such a powerful moment. You can see the anguish and regret in his face, and you can hear it when he screams. The rest of the cast is solid. Amy Adams, Russell Crowe, and Lawrence Fishburne are all great. Diane Lane and Kevin Costner are wonderful as Ma and Pa Kent. Michael Shannon as General Zod is still one of the best villains in this whole damn franchise. Maybe the best, I don't know. And Ansha Trao somehow manages to outshine him as Feora Ul. The action is well shot and well edited, it's visceral and exciting, and the flying has never felt more real. Like, it's even more so than Superman Returns. Superman's first flight in this movie is nothing short of epic, and Snyder also shows some restraint by not using any slow-mo. Instead, he uses snap zooms, which is something he previously did in 300, only then he used it in combination with slow motion. Basically, instead of cutting to a close-up, the camera snaps in to zoom in on whatever's important, and then it zooms back out. The music also helps. Hans Zimmer's score is one of his best. The score is 4 out of 5. Number 6 is Aquaman. This movie is the cinematic equivalent of good overacting. It's completely over the top, it knows it, and it doesn't care. This movie is entertaining as hell. It's colorful, it's cheesy, it takes itself seriously, but not too seriously. Speaking of colorful, this movie forgoes the washed-out color palette from Man of Steel and other similar movies, and instead, it's all bright and colorful. The acting is mostly solid. Jason Momoa is clearly having a blast. Patrick Wilson makes for one of the best DCEU villains. Willem Dafoe, Nicole Kidman, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and Tamura Morrison are all very good. And really, Amber Heard is the only weak link. I mean, even she's not the worst. She's just not all that good either. Probably the best part of the movie is the action. Overall, it's good, but there are 2 action scenes, where it takes it up a notch. The first one we get, the first one in the house where the Atlanteans come for the Queen. And then the second one is when Black Manta and the Atlantean soldiers attack them in, I want to say, Italy? Wherever they are, that gorgeous town. And the final battle is truly epic. The humor mostly works. There are really only 1 or 2 jokes that don't land. And I also love that they have a cliche dodge where usually when there's a hero or a villain who has like a dead parent or both of their parents are dead, and they're doing bad things, and usually someone will ask them, what would your dead parent think? Well, in this movie, not only does nobody ask that, but Black Manta's father actually encourages him to kill Aquaman before he dies. So, if that did happen, he could be like, someone would be like, what would your father think? He would have my back. He literally told me to do this. The score is 4 out of 5. Number 5 is Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot isn't the best actor, but she is absolutely delightful as Diana. Chris Pine is great. Lucy Davis is hilarious. The action is so good in this movie. They use slow motion, but it's not the same as Zack Snyder's slow-mo. Like, it's different enough to stand on its own. Cinematography, editing, choreography are all on point.
She's taking all the fire. Let's go! 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 Down! Strike there! Strike there!
The humor feels very natural, rather than just feeling like, oh, we have a complete script, we need to make it more comedic, let's put some jokes in. It feels like the humor was just included during the original writing process, and it feels more natural that way. Musical score is one of the best in this franchise. It draws from BVS a little, but overall it just does its own thing. The villains are fine. They're not great, they're not awful, they're fine. The final battle is what holds this movie back. It's just another fight between the hero and some CGI villain, and I don't hate it. I think it works well enough, but I think like there were so many other options that could have worked better. A score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 4 is Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. This movie is everything the first Suicide Squad should have been. It's rated R, it has a consistent tone, and most importantly, it has appropriate stakes. It's my favorite thing about this movie. The conflict isn't some deity trying to conquer, destroy, or colonize the world. It's about Harley Quinn dumping the Joker and losing her social immunity, and then having to deal with all the people who want her dead, which is a lot of people. Margot Robbie is delightful as Harley Quinn. Journey Smollett-Bell and Rosie Perez are both very good. Ella J. Basco is good. I don't read a lot of comics, but from my understanding is that this character is Cassandra Cain in name only. But aside from that, her performance is perfectly fine. Mary Elizabeth Winstead absolutely steals the show. I just wish they had given her more to do. As for the villains, Ewan McGregor is wonderfully sinister and flamboyant. Chris Messina is very good as Victor Zsasz. Those two have a lot of chemistry. They're clearly having a blast. The action is well shot, and the editing uses long enough shots that you can tell what's going on, largely thanks to the R rating. This kind of works to the movie's detriment, because during part of the climax, there are a few parts where, like, you can tell nobody's hits are actually connecting. Not that whole scene, but, like, there are a few moments in that scene where it's a little iffy. The humor is consistently funny. Harley and her egg sandwich is still a better love story than Twilight. I love that they poke fun at Huntress and the fact that she's just your typical generic anti-hero out for revenge. But it's also, like, played more realistically than most examples. Because, like, she was raised to be a fighter, to be a killer. She is trained as an assassin, but that has also left her very socially awkward. So she doesn't have quips and one-liners ready to go. She has to practice them in the mirror ahead of time. And even then, she doesn't always nail it in the heat of the moment.
When she was ready, and by ready I mean a badass motherfucking killing machine, she moves back to Gotham, starts working on that kill list. She has the murder stuff down, but the rest?
Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am?
Still a work in progress.
Do you know who I am?
And there's also a great running gag where Huntress is trying to make a name for herself, but people keep calling her the crossbow killer instead.
She has the murder stuff down, but the rest?
Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am?
Still a work in progress.
Do you know who I am?
The crossbow killer.
They call me.
The crossbow killer.
They call me.
The crossbow killer?
They call me. Huntress.
She calls herself Huntress. Fucking fabulous, if you ask me.
The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 3 is Justice League. This is a tale of epic proportions told with style and substance. There's padding. Of course there's padding. They easily could have trimmed this down to 3.5 hours, but whatever. It's twice as long as its predecessor, but it's worth every minute. Like, Justice League is one of the longest 2-hour movies I've ever seen, and this week it doesn't feel 4 hours long. It feels like 3 or 3.5 hours long. The lengthy runtime gives Snyder more than enough time to flesh out all of the new characters and some of the returning ones. Steppenwolf's appearance is finally as awesome as his voice, and he actually feels like a real character, a person with an actual personality and clearly established goals and motives.
For Darkseid.
Not impressed.
The CGI is a big step up. The soundtrack is much better. Junkie XL's original musical score is excellent. Like I said, there was padding. They could have trimmed like at least half hour off this movie, but it's fine. My score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 2 is Shazam! Oh, I love this movie so much. The acting is great. Zachary Levi perfectly embodies a boy in a man's body. Mark Strong makes her a great villain. The other foster kids are all good, especially Grace Fulton. Cooper Andrews and Marta Millins have such good chemistry, and they just feel like real, caring foster parents. And Jimon Honsu is a badass as always. The humor is just consistently funny. Shazam not being able to hear Savannah's evil monologue. Eugene not realizing that it's nighttime because he's just been absorbed in whatever game he's playing for that long. And Darla just being Darla. The action is not the best, but it's really, really good. I love in the climax when they all become superheroes. I love getting to see like them all fighting together. It was so cool.
Guys? What's happening?
I can fly!
The musical score isn't the best in the franchise, but it's still pretty great. And one little thing I love is when they're all getting ready to go find Billy, and Darla is like taking the longest, she is the slowest, it's taking her a while to get ready. And so later, when they all get the powers, and they all get like slightly different versions of the powers, hers is she gets the super speed. We're just one of those little details that just elevates it. I love that this movie gives us a positive portrayal of the foster system. Most movies that have the foster parents are just content to have the foster parents be jackasses, or just indifferent, or just incompetent. And here we see none of that. They are loving and caring, and they are actually putting in the effort to make kids feel like they belong, and I love it.
Yes, exactly why your math department is so uniquely suited for me. I can't even with Eugene right now. Sorry. Mary, hi. College interview.
I'm Billy.
What am I most excited about? Oh, what a great question. I was hoping you'd ask.
Mention you're a foster kid. Colleges eat that up.
What I'm most excited about is the campus experience. As a foster child, I'm a big believer in finding family and friends in the most unlikely of places.
My score is 5 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is The Suicide Squad. James Gunn is a mad genius and a national treasure who must be protected at all cost. And this movie is his masterpiece. The acting is all great. Daniela Melchior is the standout, and Ratcatcher 2 is very much the heart of the film. Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, Joel Kinnaman, John Cena, David Dastmalchian, and Sylvester Stallone, Viola Davis, they're all great. And the rest of the cast is at least good. It's well shot, it's well edited, it's well directed.
Non-lethal. You lose.
Exploding compression bullets.
No one likes to show off.
Unless what they're showing off is dope as fuck.
Fuck. That's true.
And like all of the main characters have arcs. You genuinely care about at least some of them. And for all the silliness going on, there are genuinely heartfelt, emotional moments that genuinely work. Imagine that. Score is 5 out of 5. Hey everyone, what's your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. Unless you don't like the video, in which case tell me why. Try to be constructive. And then subscribe anyway. You'll be notified when I upload a new video. Watch that, and then tell me what your thoughts on that one. Tell me why it sucks. Maybe if it's for the same reasons or for different reasons, or tell me where I've improved, or both. Whatever the case may be. I have a Patreon. Recently I uploaded a video of me rewatching some of my old tribute videos, like the very first ones I did. Reacting to them because I haven't seen them in a while, and giving my thoughts and talking about like my thought process going into them, like behind the scenes stuff. The first one is up on this channel, but right now I'm up to part, I think I'm up to part 4. Yeah. Right now I'm up to part like 4 or 5. Editor Ryan, double check for me. But yeah, wait, what? Well, yeah, I'm sorry, it's DC, there's not really a good spot. There's not really, it wouldn't really fit with these movies, so we'll have to find a more appropriate subject matter for it, I'm sorry. Alright. Anyway, if that was something that you actually enjoyed watching, there's more of it up on my Patreon. Now, that's not all that I'm going to have on my Patreon. That's just what I'm doing for now. There's going to be different stuff in the future. So yeah, if that interests you, definitely check it out. All right, I have 2 tiers right now. The first tier is just access to the exclusive content. And then the second tier is you can commission tribute videos. Just figure out like a theme, whether it's a character. Try to have it be movie related. TV shows might work depending on what it is, but just try to have it be movies. Maybe it's a character or a franchise or just a theme like anti-heroes or Final Girls or something. Pick a song and we can hash out the details as needed. So yeah, that's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.